I have played a lot of JRPGs over the years, and I can confidently say that I have never played anything quite like Live Alive. That is really saying something when you consider that technically, this game is almost 30 years old. Quickly, for those that don't know, Live Alive is a remake of a Super Famicom game. It was originally released in 1994, but only in Japan. According to the director, localizations were planned for other countries, but were cancelled due to poor sales. However, that didn't stop the game from gaining a cult following that has built through the years and ultimately led to this remake. So, with that out of the way, what makes me say this game is so unique? Well, the main thing is that Live Alive isn't afraid to take risks. The development team experimented with everything from different mechanics to the way the story was told. None of this experimentation would matter if it were terrible, but luckily almost everything they try in this game works in some way or another. This is all set up by one key change from a traditional game. Instead of one overarching story, the game is broken up into chapters that represent different time periods, ranging from prehistory to the distant future. Each of these chapters have their own individual characters, their own story, their own game mechanics, and they were even illustrated by separate artists. Each one was designed to be a complete standalone experience that could be completed in one setting. And to make it even more unique, the chapters can be played in any order you wish. When I first realized that every chapter would be like starting over with a new story and new characters, I thought that it would hurt the overall experience. Instead, I actually really enjoyed almost all of the chapters. They all felt like complete experiences, and some of them really pulled me in and made me care about the characters and world, even though I only spent a short time with them. What was even more surprising is that every chapter mechanically played differently. The first chapter I played was set up like a traditional JRPG with an overworld, random encounters, and a leveling system. But when I finished that chapter and jumped into the next one, I was completely thrown off because it was set up like a fighting game. There was no overworld, there were no levels gained or anything. You just selected an opponent from a menu sort of like Street Fighter and jumped straight into battle against them. The changes in gameplay didn't stop there. One chapter gives you the ability to read people's minds. One chapter is set up like a stealth game that has you sneaking around a castle. And one chapter, which was possibly my favorite, was all suspense and mystery oriented. The only thing that really doesn't change from chapter to chapter is the battle system. But luckily, that's okay because actually it's really solid. It's a variation of a turn-based battle system with a few differences. First, it takes place on a 7x7 grid, and positioning is key to being able to use whatever moves your current characters have. Some moves hit a single square, while others will affect an area of the grid. Also, each character has a stamina bar, and when it fills, that character can act immediately, even if you are in the middle of a turn. Any action such as moving a space or attacking adds to everyone on the grid's stamina bar, so you have to find a balance between movement and attacking. It feels like a cross between a traditional turn-based system and a small-scale strategy RPG. Now, the battle system won't win any awards for greatest of all time or anything like that, but it is really impressive that a combat system from 1994 doesn't feel out of place at all in 2022. But let's talk about what has changed from the original release to the remake. The biggest difference is obviously the graphics. Square has gone with the HD 2.5 art style that they have used so well recently in games like Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. It combines beautiful 3D backgrounds with pixel art characters. Now, not everyone enjoys this style, but personally, I love it, and I think that this is the best use of it so far. It allows Live Alive to look like a modern game while still being true to the original 16-bit art style. The next biggest difference is not only the English translation, but the addition of voice acting in both English and Japanese. And I was surprised at just how good the voice acting was. Usually in games that simultaneously have text boxes with voice acting, I find myself reading faster than the actors talk, and I end up skipping most of the commentary. However, with this, I actually enjoyed waiting and letting the actors speak and progressing through the game that way. The voice actors, for the most part, did a very good job of adding an emotional aspect to the characters that wasn't present when I was reading just the dialogue alone. The third and final major difference was the music. Most of the tracks are pretty good, but they just aren't that memorable. I would say overall I'm pretty neutral on the soundtrack. One thing about the music though that falls in line with the rest of the remake is that it stays really true to the original game. Most of the tracks are just higher quality, updated versions or remixes of the original soundtrack, which is really cool. Most of the rest of the differences are mainly just quality of life improvements. They have added little things like an action time bar and an area of effect indicator during combat, as well as additions of a radar in open world areas that show you things such as enemies or main and secondary quest objectives. My personal favorite quality of life addition is that in open world areas, they have added little shiny things to objects of interest, so that you don't have to go around every room clicking on random things to try and find secret items. All of these things just make the game play out smoothly, and it helps a lot with pacing. You don't have to wander around trying to figure out who to talk to or what to interact with next to progress in the story, which is one of the things that the original game did suffer from. So what do I think overall? Well, it's probably pretty obvious, but I absolutely loved this game, and I give it an A. I don't think it's perfect by any means, and it's definitely not for everybody, but it just oozes charm and originality, and for the people that do end up enjoying it, they will really, really enjoy it. But as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button. It helps YouTube know that this little channel is here, and maybe some people will actually watch it. Or if you didn't like the video, you can always give it a thumbs down or let me know what you didn't like about it down below. I'm always trying to improve and make content you guys enjoy. Also, at the time of recording this video, we are getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, which is just crazy to me. But there is always room for more, so if you want to join the amateur family, hit that subscribe button so that you can keep up with all the videos I do. But that does it for me guys. This has been Zach with Amateur Game Review, and I'll see you in the next video.